Hello everyone, welcome to Starseed Mission Support. Saying hello to everyone that is here already in the live chat. And also, of course, hello if you're listening to a future recording in a later moment. I'm very excited to bring you this topic today. It's going to be really deep. We're going to be hitting angles on this planetary mission in ways that we haven't really before. I know that I often mention the importance of human sexuality and divine sexuality when we speak about liberation on this planet, but today's conversation we're really gonna take it deep, and so just know that if you are a male-bodied person, this conversation is still just as much for you, because we share this beautiful planet. These planetary prison systems and mind control systems, they really affect all of us. And so if you are a male-bodied person, you're still absolutely welcome to receive these transmissions and the things that we're going to be talking about today. And I think it's especially going to be important for men to engage in these conversations. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you think and how you feel when we do engage in these topics. I know that for the female-bodied people on this call, this is really going to touch the deep parts inside of us that maybe just needed some validation about the kinds of abuse that we have experienced on this planet, much of which, does go unacknowledged because of their societally accepted normalhood, and also because they exist in other dimensions or other lifetimes or other times that sometimes it's hard to have these conversations about these things. And so we're really gonna get deep into this situation we have on Earth relating to human sexuality, and I'm so excited to take us there. So welcome again to Starseed Mission Support. We're going to just bring us into the space with a little bit of sound healing before we get started. So we're going to start our conversation in about 3 minutes. Welcome once again, and you are so loved and appreciated here, and we're just so happy to once again turn the engine on here to transverse through these deep subjects together. beautiful starseeds all over the planet. Welcome to another week of Starseed Mission Support. I am so thrilled to be here with all of you. I'm very excited to share this beautiful conversation we have lined up for you today. Before we get started, I just invite everyone to bring your hands to the heart, and we're just going to rub our hands together here. We're going to rub our hands together and place one hand over the heart and another hand over our belly. And we're just going to breathe for a moment. We're going to settle in and calm our nervous system and just tune into the love that is here in this field that we have been building together every week, pretty much this whole entire year. Can you believe that it's been a whole year? Many of us have spent these Saturdays together, and we're only going to grow stronger. We're only going to keep getting more and more. We're going to grow the field more and more strong and stable over the coming years, because our mission is really just getting started on this planet. And the reason why I want to begin just really settling into the body today is because this conversation is going to take us into places that may be very painful and may be very difficult, because when we speak about our sexual energy, we really get into the territory of how humanity have been enslaved and how humanity have been kept inside of this prison system. And, all of the ways that sexual trauma exists in the world comes back to this root place. And so, this conversation, even though we're really going to be talking about the divine feminine energy and the divine mother energy and the female sexual organs or the womb, this conversation is really for males and females, guys and ladies. If you're a guy that's tuning in, I'm so grateful and glad that you're here. And it's very easy for, hopefully, for you to receive the energy of what is being transmitted and just apply it to your own experience. And I would love to get feedback from you of how you feel this prison system has affected you personally. I find that is, obviously difficult for me to really talk about male anatomy because I'm in a female body, and I absolutely experience life force flow through my system in real time. And I experience a lot of profoundness when I connect to my body as a vessel for divinity and divine consciousness. And so my experience with my body is, very intimate and very exquisite, and is very specific because I am in a woman's body. That's why this work, it seems like this container that's coming up, it is created for women. And as we get into our conversation today, it's going to become, more obvious why we need these spaces for healing. And guys, if you're feeling like you would like for a space like this to be opened up for you too, please leave me a comment or send me an email. I know that most of my clients, most of the people that watch my content are women. I think, 90% of my followers are women. And so, if you guys would actually like a sexual energy healing container opened up for you, send me an email, write me a comment, because if there's enough number of you, I will consider and I will go and ask Shane if he will hold space and share some of these mysteries that we've been encountering together. Is just that I personally don't feel comfortable, and I don't feel like it's really my place to hold that container for guys, obviously. And so yeah, just looking for that community feedback if you guys would indeed like for something like that to be made available. Now, obviously, this conversation will also be good for men to receive, to understand, just how much reversal energy and sexual abuse really exists on this planet, and how the ways that even men on this planet have been tricked into playing out the agenda. And of course, many men in fact were these priestesses that I'm going to talk about in past lives. And so I invite you to feel into that as well, because we've all been male and female in our past lives. We've probably played these victimizer roles in the past. And so, yeah, I just invite you to keep an open mind as we engage this conversation. And so, the first, I'm just going to dive right in, okay? And this is going to be, I'm going to share my trigger warning here. We are going to be talking about the different kinds of sexual abuse. And, I personally believe that we can call in higher self when we can stay present with the love in the field that's here. And so, even if we do start talking about certain things, understand that there are techniques and there are modalities and there are things that we can do and ways that we can breathe to hold space for these traumatized parts to come back in. Nothing needs to be sensationalized. I personally have gone through a lot of sexual abuse, just about every kind of sexual abuse that is existent under the sun. I have at this point recovered memories of from either this lifetime or past lifetimes. And so I understand that these things are very difficult, and at the same time that divine light inside of our being is ever present. We're always connected and never severed from that divine love, from God's love inside of us. And so just know that there is that part of us that has that resolve and connection, and nothing has to be so dramatic as to, absolutely derail our consciousness, okay? So, with all of that being said, we're going to begin our conversation today with this idea of the return of the original Divine Mother Goddess energy. And so, in order for her to return, obviously, either she left or she disappeared. So, where did she go? What the heck happened there? And I'm sure that all of us have heard at this point in the spiritual community that there is, some sort of re-emergence of the divine feminine energy or a return of the divine mother energy. So I'm going to give a little bit of background story on what I feel this energy is, first of all. Because this title, Healing the Womb, Return of the Original Divine Mother Goddess frequency, is a very long strand of words, and every single word is in there for a reason. The reason why we say original is because at this point in the spiritual community, everybody is just throwing the word goddess around like nobody's business. And I think that on the one hand, this is a really good thing. And on the other hand, there has been very many distortions, and it continues to be a part of this consumeristic degradation on the original templates of creation, which are in their roots holy and divine. And so when we say God or goddess, God is certain qualities. Goddess is certain qualities. These qualities of consciousness, qualities of soul essence, are what has been, greatly damaged and even massacred on this planet, right? That's why there's been genocides on priestesses and priests and temple people all over the world that keeps a pristine and pure vibration. This is why it's important for us to talk about this, because in the spiritual community, oftentimes there are still programs, religious programs, and new age programs that make us, believe that spirit and God is just something flimsy, something superficial, that we can just throw these words around, but it actually doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve us because we're not cultivating and bringing out those qualities of human souls or divine soul essence that actually make humanity what we are. There's this agenda to just water everything down and keep everything superficial, and so that everybody can feel good about themselves. These superficial concepts like, oh yeah, all humans are divine. And while this is true, we are emerging out of the shadow and we're evolving into this golden age, the humanity that we're meant to be. And so if we settle with these fragmented and disconnected versions of ourselves and say, well, I'm divine and I'm a god, then we're actually missing out on the potential of actuating our potential. And so I feel that the original divine mother goddess energy is a frequency of pure source creation energy. This is a vibration that is nourishing and creating the life force that's flowing through all of life, right? There's a vibration of purity that is inherent in this vibration of the divine mother goddess, where it's full of compassion, it's full of love, it's full of the vibration of giving of life, reverence of life, devotion and love to life itself. It has nothing to do with fancy cars or lots of money, as oftentimes, I see these things like sacred, spiritual, goddess, make lots of money, have fancy dresses or whatever. And apparently that's what makes a goddess. And when I see those things, I'm never judgmental of the person that has created those posts. What breaks my heart is obviously the loss of the profoundness of these ancient teachings and the loss and the disconnection that we're experiencing as a planetary family, that we have created a society at this point that is the emanation or the definition of goddess, right? And then we get into the sexual mystery schools and the tantra schools, and this is where I just continue to cringe. I don't know if it's me that's cringing or my, Taoist ancestors that are cringing. And I think that we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into the true ancient vibrations of sex mysteries. I think that this is really important, and this knowledge needs to be shared. It needs to be fully understood. It needs to be fully perpetuated into the world, because there's just so much distortion, so much of the sexual mystery teachings. I mean, if you look it up on the internet, there's a lot of people that are teaching, manifestation with sexual energy, and yet when you look into the energy field of those facilitators, I honestly actually have not seen very many human beings that have fully reclaimed their sexual energy and risen their sexual energy out of the lower chakras, out of the demon realm, as I like to say. Because a lot of those dynamics, they have to do with, it's almost like this seduction energy. And true sex mysteries has nothing to do with seduction. It has nothing to do with, this vibration of sexuality that seems, let's just say, kind of immature. It's a good word. It's that sexual energy is not matured to the place where it has ascended into divinity, into enlightenment. And so we're going to talk about this because it's different than rising the sexual energy through the kundalini. This is different because oftentimes, people forcefully raise that energy out of the lower chakras through using the kundalini energy, and they think that they're actually pulling their sexual energy out of the lower chakras, but really they're only getting 10% of that energy up and out, and there's a reason for that. We'll talk about how there's literally etheric technologies that are keeping humans imprisoned in the 3D, and how we do this is trap our life force in 3D, right? Trap our life force in the artificial matrix. How do we do this? Through programming and through lots of different things. And so before we just get too deep and far into all of those topics, let's go back here. And let's just quickly go back to this vibration of the original Divine Mother Goddess. Something I want to touch on here is that, all the information that I share with you guys is not from books, it's not from videos that I watch. In fact, I did very little of that. I think the reason is that, these vibrations, they have been eradicated from the planet. And so I've really had to go deep inside of myself, into my soul's essence, into connection with my ascended ancestors. And of course, learning from Kara, who is on the other side, to actually access the original vibrations of these teachings. And one of the ways that I do this is by quantum hypnosis. And so I would have Shane put me into a hypnotic state, and I will journey into other dimensions to access, higher dimensional information. And so in this particular journey, we went in to learn about the dragons, and we went in to learn about this original Divine Mother Essence temple work. And so in this journey, what I saw was that there is a force field around the planet, and this force field has basically been created as a anti-life force technology or a frequency field that's actually canceling out the original divine life force energy. And so when you look at it in a 3D perspective, it looks like we're just chopping down trees. We have no regard for nature. People have no respect for nature itself. They're scared of nature. They don't understand, that nature and life force energy is something that is universal, that feeds us and that we reciprocate with. There's that energy of being tapped into a web of life. These vibrations have been lost. And it's also this energy of life force that's free. Life force that's free feels like joy, feels like expansive creativity, feels like ease. Is when you wake up in the morning and you just feel absolute ease in your body, where you know that you're an absolutely worthy and sacred creature made of God's love, and this whole world and all of the love and all the universe was made for you. And you wake up and you carry that honor and that confidence, but not that arrogance, right? When you understand that you and everything are created from divinity, there is no arrogance and there is no ego. There's just an ease of being alive. And so that vibration of the ease of life, we can see how that is a really rare thing now, but we can feel still in some of these Japanese cartoons that Miyazaki has created. And when we, visit these Native American tribes where that joy of life is still alive, we see that really this is our original state of being. Some of you have had experiences with different kinds of plant medicines. You know that after a night of purging, sometimes you feel that pristine calm, that pristine joy and perfect sense of all rightness. Like you are a perfect, divine creature of divinity and divine love, and you just feel perfect all rightness. Now, how many people in the world is existing in that calmness, in that comfort? Rarely anyone, right? So that's really the vibration that is being eradicated. And I would say that these are the vibrations of the original divine mother goddess, where we feel like we're being nurtured, we feel like we're being held, we feel like we are perfectly loved just as we are. We are perfect creatures as we are created. And this is how people used to relate to Mother Earth and the divine mother energy, is that when we feel into the fabric of our life, we feel utterly taken care of by nature, by God. Completely and utterly, there is just overabundance of beauty, of joy, of creativity, and this is heaven on earth, the original vibration, the original template of human, right? And so further down that note, of course, every single person in this room was born from a woman's body. And so the woman's body is this original place of gestation, is the source of our bodies, the source of our life. And so, think back to our mothers. How many mothers on the planet are feeling so taken care of and so abundant and so joyful that their womb space is just this perfect space of crystalline cosmic love, right? I would love to hear from you if you had that experience, but I'm happy to say that, hardly anyone in this whole world at this point have experienced motherhood in that way. And so even from the womb, we are disconnected from the original vibration of mother, of divine mother, of holy mother, of the earth mother, of the cosmic mother. We feel that the source of life is actually fear and scarcity and anxiety, and that there's not enough attention, not enough love, not enough presence, not enough mom, not enough dad, not enough nurturance. And so we grow up in the womb and we're gestated inside of the womb, inside of those vibrations, and chances are we're born into that timeline reality where that continues to be our reality as we grow up, as those vibrations of fear and scarcity continue to perpetuate in our life. And so in that QHHT journey, I saw that there was this magnificent tree, and this tree was the vibration of the original life force, original divine mother goddess energy, expansive, joyful, ecstatic, pure love. And this tree was just floating in the air, and it had its roots, just floating in the air. And so in that moment, Shane asked me to merge with this tree, and so I merged consciousness with this tree, and my consciousness just radiated out into the entire universe, and I could feel this sparkling, joyful, expansive, infinite, creative energy that I knew was the template and the vibration of the original divine mother goddess. Okay. And this is a field of unconditional love, a field of infinite abundance. So in this field, there is no jealousy or competition or all of these 3D, scarcity, all of these vibrations of reality that we feel down in 3D. And so the next thing that happened was I asked my team if I'm meant to plant this tree. And it seems like there was this anti-magnetic field that I couldn't get the tree onto the ground even. It was just like floating in the air, and when I tried to bring it down onto the earth, it was almost like there was this, when you put magnets together, but they're repelling. And so I got the hunch that I needed to first plant this tree inside of my own body. I realized that in order to create heaven on earth, which is what this tree represented, right? All of life feeling nourished, all of life feeling safe, all of life feeling unconditionally loved. I'm feeling like they existed in a space of infinite possibility and co-creativity. Imagine a world like that where you wake up and you're joyful and you're just here to share your soul's essence for the growth and the expansion of the whole, right? And so when I tried to plant this tree inside of my own body, as soon as it hit my sacral chakra, I just screamed out in agony. I mean, it was the greatest pain. It came out of nowhere. It came all by surprise. All of a sudden, I was watching my body scream in pain. And, there was a part of me that was in the journey. If you've had quantum journeys, you know that the higher self is kind of there present. And then sometimes the human will have its experience and almost like you're watching yourself watching it happen. And so there was a part of me that was just like, what is going on here? And as I peeked into that pain, I realized that this was the pain of when this tree was cut from its roots, right? When humanity was cut, our connection to our Earth Mother, to our essential self, to our safety, to our source of life, when this was severed. And of course, I started just almost like pages of a book. I started seeing all the times on this planet when this literally was happening, through the witch hunts, through, uh, the shaming and the degradation of the stories of the Divine Mother throughout time and space, the stories of Mary Magdalene. And even in Africa, how, there is, different tribes that carry out ritual abuse and all the different kinds of ritual abuse that happen everywhere else on the planet, and the cutting down of trees, and, pornography and child trafficking, like all of those things. All those things come down to the same root of human beings being severed from our essential connection to our bodies, to the safety of being alive, to the safety of physicality itself, right? To the beauty of being alive on planet Earth. And so as I continued to scream, I realized that there was a lot of work I needed to do before that original template vibration could land. And so I basically decided that that was my main job, that I had to go through layer after layer after layer to heal all the parts of my womb, so that these original templates can actually land in my body. And as I looked around in the community, this is the level of conversation that we really want to be having when we're talking about sexual alchemy, sex magic, manifestation, right? And over the next month, you're going to see me talk a lot about the law of attraction and how it's a partial teaching, and how all these things, if they skirt around the healing of our sexuality and the levels of healing, because any healer and any leader, if they have gone through those layers of healing themselves, they will have access and knowledge of these things. Okay, and as we break down this conversation today, we're going to see how essential every layer of this is. And without the healing and without the clearing of every layer of this, we're not going to be able to return the original Divine Mother Goddess frequency onto the planet. And so if you're someone that is deeply drawn to the sexual mysteries, but have not really been able to find a clear vessel to be your guide, I've tried in my healing process to find somebody to support me, because I was really having such a hard time, born into a Chinese family, lots of lineage-based trauma abuse, and, landmass abuse we're going to talk about as well. And, I actually have spent thousands of dollars trying to find somebody to hold space and help me through this. And I haven't really seen anyone that's actually gone through these layers of healing. And so I've always just felt there was something distorted about, teaching seduction-based sex magic or laws of attraction kinds of teachings. And so yes, I'm just really excited to dive deep. This is the this is the level of work that we're entering into. Think about it, 2022, a year of divine union, a master number, right? Two is all about the sexual energy, the second chakra. And so we're really reclaiming our creation power here. And so when I continue to go back into that vision and I saw this repelling force, what happened after, my scream was that I saw this planetary prison technology. And at the time, the words that came through was the Masonic grid, right? So this is the grid of satanic or regular churches or military bases that are all around the planet that are placed on the planetary grid that is literally reversing through these rituals. And what happens when you reverse creation energy is that it's siphoned into what they call a phantom realm, and this is what this planet is being farmed for. Um, and so what happens when life force is just being siphoned out of the planet is that you begin to see less and less diversity of life. What are we seeing on the planet right now? Mass extinctions, right? Plants are dying and we've lost, so much. I think 60-70% of our planet's forests, which is devastating. And we see a mass die off of all sorts of animals. Now, there's a physical, biological reason that this is happening, and there's also a spiritual reason this is happening. And what I've also was seeing that in the old times, humans had such a deep connection to dragons and the mythical creatures of the other dimensions. You see little people and fairies, and all of these things are well documented in so many ancient cultures. And those creatures that live in these other dimensions, they need this prana, this specific vibration or frequency of creation energy to be alive. This is the original creation life force matrix of reality that feeds and nourishes life. So what we're seeing is deserts popping up and plants dying. There are certain plants that need a certain vibration to be alive, and certain animals that need a certain vibration to be alive. And the planet is slowly, as it's falling in vibration, so many of these species of plants and animals are dying off. And more than that, it's almost like this dimension, it starts to split apart from the higher dimensions, and makes it harder for people to access higher dimensionality. This is part of the 3D matrix prison. And more than anything, the dragons are having a harder and harder time existing in a bandwidth of connection with us. And the dragons were the original elemental guardians of this life force, of these teachings. The original divine creational dragons, these original guardians of universal templates and universal knowledge, they're especially, here to support us and beseech us to recognize how deep this stuff is and how we have an opportunity inside of our own body to reclaim sacred power. There's nowhere else that this needs to happen, right? We want to go out there, we want to start protests, but so long as we don't have our creation energy, we're not going to be able to do anything. And so this is why there are etheric networks that are running reversal currents in our physical bodies, and that this is also why there is so much deliberate assault on humanity through pornography, through the media, through, societally accepted ways of sexual intimacy. It's like, yeah, it's totally normal. In fact, it's cool to just let your sexual energy, let your creation energy be drained, right? It's totally in fact, we encourage it. If you are 20 years old and you're not slaying tons of girls, and you're a loser. If you're not sleeping with all the guys, and you're a loser, right? All of this societally accepted mind control that teaches humanity to just waste our creation energy. What happens when our creation energy is not flowing through our vessel, when we don't have 100% access to our creation energy, is that we have lots of dreams. We want a vision of the future, but when we try to do something, we try to make it happen, it's almost like there's a silence or a break. It's like you're mute. right? There's no substance to draw upon because the life force of the body, the life force that you quantifiably have in your system is just flowing, out of your body, and you're not even aware of the direction that is going. And so this mind control 3D prison traps our sexual energy, So there's just so many ways that this happens. And it's very difficult to, let's just put it this way. I spend, pretty much all day cycling this energy, cleansing this energy. Sometimes I'll intentionally sit there for hours, every single day. And at this point, it's been 2 years since the first time that this womb healing container came through and these teachings came through the first time. And, I have an idea of how much effort it's actually required for us to purify our creation energy. I believe that there's no more important thing. This is going right to the source. The source of our disconnection, the source of the false matrix, the source of our mind control prison is our own life force, having access to our own life force. If you don't know where your life force is, if you don't know who has control over it, if you don't know what your life force is creating, if you don't have 100% access to your sexual energy, to your creation energy, meaning, and by the way, having 100% to your own creation energy as a divine creator being, there's nothing more powerful than that. At this point in my life, I've done this work for years and I'm not there yet. I can feel the power of it coursing through my body more and more, right? But the level of productivity, the level of creator power you have when true life force, true, pure, original, essential life force is flowing through your body. None of us would be worried about the cabal or, who's going to save the world, because you will know that with, just pure inspiration and just putting your energy towards it, that you're going to be able to create everything that you need to create a new world. And this comes from the empowerment of that energy from the inside. I want you to feel into your body as I'm transmitting this vibration, because at this point I'm beginning to do this, right? Cycling this creation energy and putting it right into things that I need to create. Now I'm cycling maybe about 40% of the life force, right? Because it's hard work. That's why I'm skeptical of a lot of people that are like, manifest your dream life, use sex magic, and I'm tuning into their field, and it's like, I know how much healing I have had to do, and I know where I'm at right now, which is not even close to the level of creative power I know is possible for these creator vessels that we all have. So, having access to all of your creator power means that you're going to have access to, first of all of your time, but also you're going to understand, what steps to take first. When somebody says you're here to build, a healing center, your first thought is, okay, how can I apply my creation energy to materialize this? Not who can I get to sponsor my project? Who can donate energy to me? Because you have access to infinite energy already. Is just learning about how to, liberate that energy out of the 3D prison. And so let's talk about the things that have been conditioning our sexual energy from before birth, from our parents, and from the lines of ancestors that we had, right? Societal conditioning. For me, as a Chinese person, it might be different than your social conditioning, but you will find that societal conditioning, no matter where you're from, it might be a different flavor. So, for example, where I'm from, women are basically objects that are there to, please their husbands and to make children for their husband. And, that's basically what our bodies are good for. And, also we have no sense of pleasure in ourself. We don't, talk about it. There's a lot of shame around sexuality. So that's the common societal accepted understanding of sex, is that it's shameful, it's private, we don't talk about it, and it's mostly for men. Go ahead and write me in the live chat of what you feel like your societal conditioning around sexuality is. And, when we talk about it like this, it's our underlying subconscious connection to sexuality, right? Sexuality, our sexual energy is how our physical body experience creation energy. And so our understanding and our subconscious relationship with it is basically the backbone of our reality. So if our mind thinks, oh, sex, is this weird thing, and we giggle and we think is this like little shameful secret thing, that's an inner child part that hasn't evolved into sexual maturity, into aligning with the truth that our sexual energy is deeply divinely spiritual. And that is one way that our sexual energy is trapped, severed from the rest of our being. Okay, and another way that this happens is trauma. So if we experience trauma in childhood, either through astral, abductions, or through, a family member, or through whatever kind, or even finding pornography as a child, right? All of these things begin to distort our connection and our understanding of our essential sexual energy, which the energy that I'm really trying to bring through here is that sexual energy, not only is it innocent, not only is it pure and is divine and is beautiful, it is also deeply spiritual and is deeply divine. It's something that can ascend into enlightenment. And the vibration of enlightened sexual energy is something that I haven't really seen in embodied form. It's something that we can easily lie to ourselves about, but it's just, I'm saying this because I know the amount of healing and the amount of reconciliation and the amount of depth and death that is actually required to excavate down to those essential levels of our being to liberate those deeply seated parts of our sexuality into liberation, into alignment. And, just from my path, I know how difficult this practice is, but also how painful it is, because this is your birthright. This is how you meant to experience yourself as a divine being, as an essentially divine being, as a being that has access and wields the power of divine co-creation. And how we do that is by ascending our sexual energy and liberating those energies into our body and learning how to truly channel our life force into our life, not into somebody else's dreams, not into the elites, not into the false matrix, but into what we want to create as humanity. Do you see how deeply important this conversation is? Right? Because this is why, there's no other thing that's more prevalent on this planet but the trafficking of sexual energy. And human trafficking, child sex trafficking, huge issues on this planet, but it's happening to every single one of us every day. I don't know one human being that has all of his or her sexual creation energy sovereign. Right? And this is the reason why we're having a hard time creating a new world, because we can't just dream it or think it that it'll happen. We have to embody it. And the path of embodiment, what's at the end of it? When you come through your body, you reach the root chakra, right? The root chakra, life force. And this is where the devastation begins to appear, because, when we are just in our surface level consciousness, we think, oh, everything is cool. We're not even aware of where our energy's going. Oh, just go to work or watch a movie, watch Netflix. And we don't realize that our life force is just slowly seeping out of our body. We don't have control over it. We don't have ownership over it. This is why we are enslaved, is that we don't have access to our own life force energy. And so we see why it's so difficult for humanity to create a new world when our light bodies and our physical bodies have literally been programmed to give away the sovereignty of our creator agency. And this is also the true reason for patriarchy, right? In the original reality, there's no man that wants to hurt a woman. It just doesn't make sense. There's no woman that wants to hate on a man. In a normal, natural society, there's coherence, there's cooperation, there's deep levels of reverence and respect and love because we co-create in this world together. And so patriarchy is actually a negative alien mind control technology. It was inserted into the planet artificially through a whole bunch of stuff, like, the Bible's narrative of women, and, these stories about the whores of Babylon, and all of these things that degrade our divinity and our sacred sexuality to a place where the mysteries are lost. And so when our energies are reversed, you think about the mass population, think about the state of our children that are growing up watching. I grew up, TV with the TV, and there was Britney Spears, but it's even worse now. It's so much worse now. Um, how it's in training this process, or in training this template, this flow of energy, that life force we can easily disregard and disrespect and just, allow to give the life force away. And this makes it very easy to hijack humanity and hijack this energy. And so here I just want to go into talking about some levels of sex abuse that I'm sure we have all I've all experienced. And some of this will be pretty hard to talk about, but I do find that it will be important for us to talk about it because so much of this is not acknowledged. And when we don't acknowledge certain things, they can just be allowed to be normal when they're absolutely not normal. So, for example, the existence of pornography and this like mental assault, sexual assault through the media on our children, this is absolutely sexual abuse. This is societal sexual abuse. This is a level of sexual abuse that we have all been exposed to that, generally distorts our understanding of ourselves, disconnects us from our original vibration of pure life force inside of our body. This is something very devastating. As we begin, this is something that I've experienced myself, feeling robbed of my power, feeling robbed that this essential, innocent part of myself had been distorted and literally taken away from me. This is my creation power, right? This is what's happening to humanity. And so as I'm going through this healing, I realize, crap, this is the level of healing that humanity are going to have to go through. This is societal level rape, essentially, the taking of our innocence. And then we want to talk about, many priestesses. I primarily work with women. Over the last couple years, I've worked with hundreds of women. Women have gone through past life healings. I've now at this point found over and over again these rituals that had occurred to witches. We hear stories of the witch burnings, but really what happened was the ritual magical abuse of priestesses. Why? To hijack their power. What are witches? Women that are connected to original life force energy, right? Women that have the power to birth, that are connected to the universe, are very powerful. And so the church wanted that power. And how do they take it? Through rituals. And so a lot of women that have issues with narcissism but feel connection to priestesshood and just feel such a hard time, the power is there, but you just feel like it's being usurped. Chances are, this has happened over and over again. I've discovered this in multiple past lives in myself as well, where church leaders, friars, well, I don't even know what a friar is, but I saw one in my past life regression. But these people, when they have a public witch burning, sometimes these women are tortured for a month, with ritual abuse to siphon and cord them up, to hijack their creation energy and magic rituals before they're publicly shamed and executed. Whew. Another thing that happens is the interdimensional human trafficking that actually happens a lot more than people think. Anyone that has watched pornography is pretty much guaranteed to be hooked into one of these devices. If you find that you can't get aroused without fantasizing or without, a programmed vibration of sexual intimacy, then there's definitely a reversal technology in the light body that's keeping your life force from flowing because when what a natural state of sexual energy looks like is sexual energy is just itself, is the essence of creation energy in your body. There doesn't need to be some perverted image or fantasy. There doesn't need to be a sexualization. And it kind of sounds weird that we don't have to sexualize sex, but in a way, we don't have to. No, when I use this word sexualize in this context, I just mean a societal understanding of that word sex, right? Sex itself can be innocent, can be non perverted, can be present. And so after years of meditation and working with this energy, it just feels like this warm, radiating, loving energy that flows through the body all the time. And what it could feel like is, if I'm really excited about working on a project, something that is going to nourish the world, something that's going to bring healing into the world, I will get aroused. Right. And this is what I call creation sexuality is new. People can be, bisexual or pansexual. Well, we can also be creation sexual, where we are aroused by divine creation itself, and we're aroused by our own ability to create into the world. And this is when we channel that energy upwards and we're not leaking the energy, we're in full ownership of that energy. But anyway, back to talking about that programming. I've had a lot of clients that, can't get aroused unless they're thinking about the fantasizing about rape, for example. This is an extreme example, but clearly is connected to pornography, which literally trains your neurology. It literally programs your neural pathways to trigger your physiological responses of arousal, which is very dangerous. Then AI is controlling your arousal, right? It's not an organic or natural response of arousal where for me, as I've reclaimed this natural template, what arouses my body is holiness, divinity, God. And I know that sounds very nerdy and very strange, but as we begin to clear these programs, again, they've normalized demons basically. We have been normalizing demonic sexuality, and we think, oh, it's so great. We can seduce devils into giving us what we want through through these fallen sex magic teachings. It really makes me nauseous. And again, not a human judgment on any human being that shares those teachings. I believe that we're all trying to find the truth, and we maybe have had these past life rituals that are still affecting us, but this is the level of healing that we're talking about here, we're engaging in now, because we need people that have full access to our original divine pure creation template. We need people that can give birth to matter, to realities, to physical things that will change this world. And we do that by reclaiming, like, no alien can fly. I mean, we are the aliens, first of all, but it's like, even if an alien came out of the sky and said, they still can't heal your body for you. They can't go through these profound steps to reclaim your sexual energy for you, because this is an internal act of alchemy that we engage in. That's how you reclaim your power. It'd be not in it'd be counterintuitive for somebody else to reclaim your power for you, right? That defeats the whole purpose of reclaiming your power. Anyway, so yeah, people get hooked into these energy siphoning devices through the use of pornography, and then all of a sudden we have this perverted idea of sexuality, and we're sexualizing women, we're sexualizing men, we're sexualizing our sexual organs, when all of this whoo are these vessels are for divine consciousness, right? Another way that sexual abuse happens is through the breeding programs. These things happen to women or priestesses that have specifically particular genes and genetic strands that different alien groups want. And the reason why they want this really is still connected to creation energy, because the more crystalline your genetic template is, the more creation energy you can accrete through your vessel. The more creative power you have, the more access to divine creation energy you have. And so this is very highly coveted, obviously, by beings that have either gotten their own creational privileges taken away or have lost their creational privileges because they're meddling with mechanics of creation that they don't have the spiritual access to. And so, this is also something that has happened to me and many of my clients. You feel like there's almost this weird, fluidy energy around the womb. It could feel like you could have memories of, syringes, or literally the feeling like there's parts of your DNA or your eggs that have been taken. And a lot of these experiences are extremely traumatic as well. Um, Whew, yeah, and all of that is just, we're not even talking about the physical acts of sex abuse that can be extremely difficult to heal. Speaking especially on childhood sex abuse, which, there are so many layers of this we address, like clearing the abuser's energy from the field of ourself, because when you are forced into a sexual kind of situation, um, there are levels of light body exchange that happen. And so, for example, I've had to clear like the thoughts that my abuser had, and the vibration of my abuser, and what he was thinking and how he was feeling about me as he was abusing me. Like all of those vibrations lodged in the body. This is why sex abuse is so hard to heal. So many people, are healing or are debilitated for decades with this trauma. It's because there's so many layers beyond the mental, beyond the psychological, beyond the emotional, that all needs to be addressed. And yeah, this is the level of work that we are preparing to engage in with the upcoming container with Kara. 9-week wound healing container is really intending to take a person all the way through our sexual healing, through all of the layers that we just talked about, and into the embodiment of the original Divine Mother Goddess template. This is the highest act of war that we can engage in on the planet right now as a woman, because we're holding the template, right? We're actually the women carry a pheromone almost. I'm not exactly sure if it is a pheromone, but essentially when women are joyful, when women are happy, we give birth to a healthy, vibrant society. And all these ancient texts, Taoist and, Andean, all of these ancient cultures knew that the women, because of our connection to the womb, because of our radiance, because of our connection to infinite, if the women are oscillating in the original template, everything in the reality begins to heal, begins to flourish, begins to be given life to, right? When the mom, you think about a household, like when mom is happy, right? Everybody's happy. Happy mom, happy home, because, it's like there is something unspeakable, there's something unspoken about the presence and the connection and just this channel of infinite life force that women have. And so, um, talking about the power of the original template, the vibration of original creation. I believe that if the women on our planet feel safe, if the women on our planet feel supported, if they feel beautiful, if they feel comfortable, if they feel powerful in their bodies and confident in themselves, our world would be filled with the radiance of love, of nurturance, of life. There would be no scarcity. So we're really addressing, the very root of the um, distortion system. And this is, again, why there is patriarchy, right? There's a reason why the negative aliens have created a system where degrading women is at the center of it, because they know how the mechanics of creation happens through human society, right? And the male people have just a super important role to play in all of this. It's just about understanding how these polarities and how these energies work together, right? Because and in my sacred relationship, Shane, when he makes me feel safe, when he makes me feel, I mean, he really puts me on a throne, and we do this for each other, but we understand that when we make each other feel divine and righteous and powerful, that we can weave and create and experience those levels of creational power. And so this can happen obviously on a societal and a planetary level. It's absolutely not normal for men to, assault women and to forcibly shut them down and to belittle them, right? It's like we're literally living in a reversal life force current even in our society on that front, and it's by design. No man came up with that. It is a designed negative ET multidimensional prison system that was installed onto the planet, and we have to start to peel those viruses off our system and find the original vibration of divine creation itself. Whew. And so and here's the thing, right? Here's the secret. This is something that Kara taught me the first time that she came through. It's like when the woman is in her power, we're radiating into the fabric of reality, right? So I've actually had a lot of miracle stories. I have a lot of reviews from people that have taken the first woman healing class. They're like, oh, Z, I'm always trying to tell my husband to wash the dishes and I want him to do this for me and blah, blah, blah. I wish he would listen to me and he just blah, blah, blah. And he's not doing this and I want him to do this, blah, blah, blah. It's this naggy energy. And so that energy comes from a disempowered womb, right? When a womb and a woman feels unworthy, when a woman feels that's just how men is, that this is how men treat women, there's all these stories going on, and sure, they obviously we learn those things from society and the way things are, but when we actually realize our power, so Kara said, the reason why you're not getting support is because that's the frequency you're radiating into the field, and the reality has to respond to the womb. And so if you are radiating, oh, men don't support me and men all suck and blah, 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 then that's what you're going to get. And so when I could get over that and I started to radiate the vibration through my womb that I am supported, that my space is magnificent and clean and I deserve all the support that I need. When I was able to anchor that vibration, I kid you not, I did not have to tell my ex-husband to clean the dishes. Everything was clean, and I continue to receive so much unconditional, divine, loving support from the masculine. And it has to do with our ability to anchor that template. And I know that sounds wild, but I've had miracle stories of people being like, yeah, for so many months I've had issues with my boyfriend and they don't respect me and blah, blah, blah. And they take the class, they anchor the original template, and all of a sudden their boyfriend's like saying sweet things to them, taking them on nice dates, and, all of a sudden ready to, participate. And it's because you as the woman are the oracle in the reality. And, we are literally carrying the signal. It's like the queen bee in the colony. So if the women are, shut down, uncomfortable, feeling afraid, this creates havoc, chaos in the hive. This is what we're seeing on a planetary level, where the women have been abused and degraded to a point where we lost connection to the magnificence of life itself. If we're just all sitting like, we are life. Life is exquisite. Life is beauty. Life is powerful. Life is abundant. If we're all just sitting in that vibration, I guarantee you the world will be healed in, a couple months or something. Because the whole society will respond to the presence, the landing of that energy. That's why this tree has been cut down, and that's why the feminine has been degraded for so long. It's because in order for the type of societal dysfunction that we have now, the women had to be placed into chaos and distortion, right? And so this is really the level of work that we're about to engage in. I don't mess around. I cannot, speak any more words about how profound working with Kara is, because she's on the other side, transmitting these frequencies of the original template. Right? And I myself have just been going through breakthrough after breakthrough over the last couple weeks working with her. And I know that this is what is available for the women, the lucky women that, happen to be here in the sphere, happen to connect and to receive this message at this time. And I just cannot implore you to explore this container enough. If you are somebody that, has been in the priestess or the divine feminine community for a while, and yet you haven't been able to step forth in power, chances are there is a multidimensional sexual trauma somewhere that's blocking the womb energy from empowering the rest of your body. Otherwise, your whole day would be driven by joy, driven by excitement, driven by creativity. You can't stop creating because it feels so good, and abundance just flows out of your being. This is how it's supposed to feel like. And so, if you know that you've been looking for the original teachings of creation sexuality, then, don't miss out on this container, because you are worthy of being held through this magnificent rebirth that is possible for you. So, the link of that is in the description below. And I will also just put it in the chat box here. Yeah. So, it's like I'm so passionate and excited about this conversation because I just recognize, everything else that we talk about is exciting and is cool and is important, but it doesn't get to the root of the issue, right? The root of the issue is the root. The root of the issue is the sacral. And there's so many layers of that. So many layers of the abuse and the trauma and the distortion. And we want to just, so often we want to just blame each other, right? Women are so, superficial, and they only want, money. They only want, whatever from us. Or the women are like, well, men are violent and men are scary, and there's no trust, there's no communication. And it has to start somewhere, it has to start, for me, it starts with myself, and I'm a woman, so that is why this container is for women. Like I said, if you are a guy that really feels like you want support in deconditioning from these things, send me an email or comment below. If there is enough, if there are enough people that want that, I will ask Shane if he would facilitate a container, at the same time as we do this work for women. So somebody says the root of the issue is adrenal growth. Yes, exactly, precisely. Now, every single person is giving away loosh, is giving away energy, right? And so it's not just about the few unfortunate people and kids that are being ritually abused, because this is a greater conversation, and that's really what I'm trying to get at here, is reclaiming our energy, reclaiming our creation energy. Think about how many things, in the last year, I have published a book, continue to write, 3 or 4 more. I ran a 13-month shamanic healing container, a couple of events, and I built homes on a headquarters. That was part of my mission, to build a couple of homes here so grid workers can come through here and work with the grids. And all of the productivity, I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg. I'm in a state of creativity. And it's like the motivation behind that is because I'm on a mission. I have a purpose. I have a destiny. And we're just saying that, there is an infinite. It's not even like I'm tired. I'm so fulfilled. Life force is flowing through my body. I feel vital. I feel like I'm creating, right? This makes my body feel good. I'm in a state of orgasmic creation. And this is really what we're meant to exist in. Those of us that are, just kind of like, well, when is it going to start? When is my mission going to start? Your mission starts when your life force is flowing through your body. And, sometimes we can have an ecstatic Kundalini awakening where all of a sudden a bunch of stuff is cleared out. And for most of us, myself, my experience is the only one I've ever had, but I know that, a lot of people are just waiting for the time when they can create the life of their dreams. And in my experience, I've had to work very hard to um, demolish the walls that's keeping me from my creation energy. There is a force that's very deliberately hijacking your energy. And so Imari says, I heard Marguerite suggesting that Jesus may have been polyamorous. I still have an attachment to being with the one. I had no idea he separated from her husband, Loki freaking out. So I found my beloved. So that is why my husband and I split. I am a deeply monogamous human being. I have attempted polyamory in the past because I think that in my path I just had to experience different things, and even at that time I did not want to. My partner at that time wanted to be in a polyamorous relationship and I did not. And so I went through that experience, and at this point in time I don't feel like let's just say that for what I want to experience in this life, I understand that I need a very deep and safe container. Also, I'm an introvert, so socializing to begin with is really, it's a lot of energy. So I can't imagine like, okay, so in a deep, intimate container, the possibility for healing our sexual wounds is immense. I can't imagine having, more than one person to do that level of work with, because that just sounds exhausting. um But as far as Jesus being polyamorous, very interesting. I feel like there's so many different timelines, right? Like some people feel like Jesus died on a cross. Some people feel like he ascended. Personally, I have just been tuning in to the possibility that there are holographic inserts and false timelines, right? And so I think that there's a lot of stories. Some people say that Mary Magdalene didn't do anything and that she was a whore or something. And, it's like these are stories. And to find the truth, we just need to get really, really still and feel into the truth. And sometimes that truth can also change over time. And so I think that with the monogamy and the polyamory thing, it's just all about what you're looking to experience inside of yourself. And the Jesus Mary Hyros Gamos template is definitely the twinned template that I feel the most resonance with as well. And Tasha says the guilt is immense. Oh yeah, so I've had abortions. Whew, yeah, so Tasha, just definitely know that you are held and you're loved unconditionally, and you can give yourself permission to let go of the guilt. You existed in a society that didn't give you the support or the understanding to fully be sovereign in your womb, and that was designed. There was like a designed assault on your womb. It was not your fault that happened to you in the field. This is a level of recognition and reconciliation that we are engaging in that's very intense. To say this is a planet that has gone through planetary sexual enslavement, planetary rape. This is very intense, and it takes away all of the sensationalism, right? There's so much sensationalism in the community, in the disclosure in the New Age community, like ascension, 5D, new earth, adrenochromes. Like, let's just peel it back. How are we feeling? How has that affected our biology? How has that affected our inner children? Let's get deep in there and let's reconnect to the original templates and our power, because everything else is just, entertainment and sensationalism, and that will continue to take our attention and our power away from us. And so absolutely give yourself the permission to let go of any guilt and just, fully acknowledge what you have been through as a human being in that abuse. And then also, know that there's a way for you to reclaim that power. And it's not going to be an easy path. It's not easy. It's not fucking easy. I can't tell you guys, how much how many times I'm just like wailing in the bath, just like in absolute agony because my essential life force had been taken away from me, had been severely abused by the society. I mean, it's deep stuff. It's serious stuff. And when we get into this level of the conversation as a community, this is powerful stuff, right? This is also the life force that gives us that righteous rage to stand up for something, right? When our energy is actually, when we find that lion energy is life force, we're getting hot, right? That life force flowing through our body. Otherwise, we're just these flaccid beings that can't stand up for anything, that can't muster up the courage, can't muster up the ability to take action, right? Because there's no life force, there's no access to energy. And why is this conversation not being had? Well, first of all, it requires for someone to be completely devoted to a lot of healing to get here. And second of all, there's a lot of misguided information out there that are designed to, again, keep you from accessing your power. Who's going to change the world? Who's going to change the world? Who's going to build this new planet? Who's going to build a new earth? Is people that have access to creation energy. And so, yeah, I will say that, being with your twin and, any of the stuff that's in our system can be greatly accelerated in its burnout. Like it can burn up really fast when you're with your twin. But, that's also why I've been going through healings like a maniac this year. But, you know, these things will still come up to be healed. And I think that the great thing about having the presence and the support of the Divine Mothers is that there's so much divine love. There is so much love. There's so much love that we can almost just lean and surrender into the pain, into the misery that can be released. So, I am so honored. Together we're going to do some immense things. There is a week on the 6th week on the website. You can see the whole curriculum, and you can see that on the 6th week we talk about this planetary technology. It's also, I call it the curse of Yahweh. Or when I first saw it, they showed me it was a curse on the original Divine Mother energy, which all women are connected to, and is the same curse that are making it really painful for women to give birth. Is the same curse that make women feel that when they're empowered that they're somehow demonic. It's really, really deep. But on the 6th week, we are basically removing this device from 10D, from the planet. And this is a level of planetary grid work that only with enough bodies that have gone through sufficient healing can we access. And so, make my job a little bit easier and just up if it's for you, because it's like I have to explain why this deep work is so important. And when I'm looking around in the community, there's not really anything quite like it. There's not really anything that's to this depth. Like I said, I've been looking for a guide myself. I've been looking for somebody to support me. And unfortunately, I sign up for a few classes only to find that, there's just distortions that makes me go, I'm just, allergic to sexual distortions when there's that like fallen priestess, like seducing the universe to get what I want kind of thing. I'm like, because when you're operating in the original creator vibration, you don't need to manifest. You don't need to manifest because you're birthing and everything just comes. It's not even that everything comes to you, it's that you're aligned to your design, you're aligned to your soul. And so you're not even needing to manifest because there's no lag, there's no thing that's missing, there's no scarcity, there's just the external reality reflecting what is already you. Abundance, joy, creativity, beauty, right? And so there's no need to law of attract. No need to attract anything. In fact, I think that it's funny because I've experimented with, law of attraction, just for the sake of understanding it better. And the two times that I've tried to do it this year, I ended up learning this lesson that, like, the human don't always know what's the best for us. Like, we don't always know what our soul has planned. So really all we have to do is to purify ourselves so we are the emanation of our pure soul's essence. And when we do that, our life will naturally align to what is right and what is perfect for us from the perspective that we don't have down here as a human being. And so it's like God has a way better imagination than me. My higher self is way better at bringing me everything that fulfills me. I can't even imagine the things that are right. Right? And so there is this self-centered, self-servicing thing around law of attraction where most of the time, the two times that I try to attract, I'm like, after in the hindsight, like, the universe brings me what I'm actually meant to have, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know why I wanted that thing. I made this huge ceremony and I was like, I'm attracting this thing. And the whole time I was really just experimenting. Like, I wasn't really trying to make it happen because I'm totally surrendered as a person. I know that, there's a destiny for me. I know that I don't always see what the steps are, but I know that when the time comes, all things align. Everything in my reality magically aligns itself for me to move through this destiny. This is a law of co-creation. And so, anyway, the point of this is that some of those reversal teachings come from these fallen temples, right? When the temples started usurping magic teachings for service to self reasons, this is how Hollywood, all of the broken magic that Hollywood uses were stolen from the fall of Egypt. And so many of us remember the pain of that. So I personally have had a past life regression with a person that I have in this lifetime, where the greed and the power hungry energy basically mind controlled the priest to sacrifice the priestesses and cut out their ovaries and do these fantastic ceremonies to get energy, right? This is a stick for my sound bowl. I'm just waving it around like a wand. Don't mind me. But anyway, the point of that ramble was that the sixth class, as we're talking about this 10D reversal technology, this ties into the angelic lineages. Okay? The original fall of this universe happened through several angelic lineages, one of them being the seraphim. So this container is definitely for women that are connected to the seraphim lineage, the angelic lineage. You feel a deep connection to the original fabric of the universe and how the distortions occurred from high dimensionalities, right? Starting from 11D, because these control systems of life force actually began at the fallen angelic level. And so the priestess abuse actually occurs, and there's a lot of priestesses from the Pleiades, from Sirius, that were kidnapped by these fallen angels to, again, breed or steal genetic powers from. And so, that level of abuse we're going to be addressing as well on the 6th week. And when we begin to engage in template restoration on that level, what we're doing is actually removing this prison device from 10D. And when we engage in that, I'm just like, who's getting really hot? I'm getting like shivers up and down my spine, because this is the stuff that I've been waiting to do. Like, these are the stuff, like, I can't do it myself. I can't do this level of work myself, and so many of you have been waiting to do work on this level, right? And what we can engage in together as a group, I kid you not, that I actually chose the start date of the container, and then I wrote out the entire curriculum, and then just by total synchronicity, that 6th template planetary healing ceremony just happened to land on 2/22/2022 in February 22nd. And when that happened, I was like, "Oh wow, like we're not joking around here." I just had um was not planning. I did not plan that one at all. It just kind of aligned all on its own. And so, yes, my job is to communicate. My job is to communicate what is here. It's for you if you feel it. And then if you feel like it's for you, I, implore you to know that you're worth it. You deserve this experience, and you deserve support. You deserve this container's support to help you heal on all these levels. And because I have gone through these healings myself, I just hold the space with a lot of honor and humility, because I know how difficult it can feel, and I also know how lonely it can feel. And I just know that when we're all together, it can be really powerful. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Whew. I know. Yeah, I mean, it's like, so little people understand the depth of what light work is, of what we can really do. That's why I honor hard work and diligence, and really going in and doing the hard stuff, because there's just something, like, if you want to be a professional athlete, you can't just dream away, right? You've got to train. And so this is really what, the vibration of mastery is, in the space that we're holding. It's all from that. And imagine having just a community. We're going to be putting the sisters into groups of 8 to 12 in our own private Telegram group, so you can have like a tight-knit sister unit based on your vibration. I'm going to be putting people in groups based on an intake questionnaire, so they're going to be sisters that are vibrationally matched to you. And this is, again, just the deepest work that we can engage in. I feel like I'm just punching the negative aliens in the face, because, again, it's like they were very deliberate in their assault, right? The greatest example of this that I've experienced was when I had to go and do grid work at a Ariana Grande concert, and I walk into the concert and she's singing the song that's called God is a Woman, but she's in this like skimpy little outfit, she's dancing around, and I'm like, this is the ultimate assault. Like, I was so offended because what is that symbolizing? Is that they've turned the goddess into a whore, right? And this is a planetary curse that it's not going to go away on its own, because the big bosses have already been removed. So many of the negative ETs, the higher level ETs, have already been removed. And so what are we, the healing work and the cleanup work that we have to do is the work that we have to do. There's nothing, it's like, this is the stuff that we came down here to repair in 3D. Otherwise, we would not have to come down here, right? In physical bodies. And so there's no war, really. There is still the feeling of shame and embarrassment and anger. Z, can one heal their past life wounds? So this is something that we're going to be doing in the container, because yes, and we have to, because our past life womb energy and our past life light body energy affects our current life, a lot. For example, I've had a past life healing of having been abducted and killed as one of these witches. So that's really how I discovered, all of these things, is through my personal healing and my session work with clients, where it's not like I'm making these things up. I mean, when we start to remove these things, women start to literally have, extreme physical sensations and sometimes even orgasm, right? Because there's so much pent up and blocked energy that when we start to remove these things and energy gets flowing, like these things happen in sessions. So it's real stuff. But in that experience itself, I was, taken from a priestess temple, kidnapped. All of my sisters were killed, and this man basically kept me as a slave and tortured me until I died, and placed so many soul binds on my being that he was, because again, priestesses, what do we have? Access to creation, life force energy, magic, right? Through the biology, through our mastery of the mysteries. There's no people that have greater access to creation energy than priestesses. And so many of us were hunted and were kidnapped and were kept. And what happens in current lifetime is that we get into narcissistic relationships. We feel unworthy. We feel like our sexual energy is siphoning. We give our sexual energy, we give our energy away. We put everything ahead of us, right? We treat men as if they are somehow they own us, or they are that we need to put them above ourselves. And so clearing these past life cores and templates are extremely important in liberating our current present life force energy, and we can absolutely do that. Whew. And Julia says, totally resonate. I had so much abuse of all sorts. This is the shit that, it's like, I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that, I was abused as a child, and then I was abducted, and then in past lives this shit happened to me, and then you're saying that even when I was upstairs, that pieces of me were taken and stolen to create Miss Creatures. Like, that's the life that we've had as priestesses in the universe for, a long time. And this is the time that we've come to reclaim our sacred power. And we can do this. No matter what has happened, the power of the feminine is this infinite power of rebirth, power of renewal, right? Whew. And the beautiful thing is that right now there's this beautiful opportunity for us to receive transmission. I mean, Kara, she's like the OG Divine Mother Priestess, because she's just on the other side, and she's us, but she's not tied down by the genetic trauma. She's not tied down by so many things. So Kimber Lucha says, where can one find a female QHHT facilitator? I'm sure Shane is great, but have discomfort around being candid with a male. So this amazing lady that I've worked with, her name is Jeannie, but she only does in-person sessions. She's in Asheville, North Carolina. And I totally understand that, you might want, it might be more comfortable to work with a female, but I will say that, Shane is very caring, and he's held space for most of my sexual trauma, so he's experienced in all of those things. And I did find that just even experiencing the purity of a male person holding space was very healing for me. So that's the other angle on that. But that's a good point. I might, try to find one. I know that many of them don't do sessions online. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a new energy, right? The goddess is resurfacing, and she's reconnecting to the women on this planet that are meant to be emanations of this essence. And so, yeah, Yep. I'm just gonna sit for a moment. Harmony Home says, do we carry that with us from both past lives and through our mother's mother? Yes. Actually, that, I know it's just a bad deal coming to Earth right now, but you did it because you are a badass. Harmony says, can it affect us even if we haven't experienced anything negative relating to this in this life? So great question, Harmony. And I will also say that, again, even if we haven't experienced direct sexual trauma, my question is, have you, had access to TV and media, and have you had access to images of sexuality, or do you feel like you are a divine emanation of source when you engage in sexuality, or does it feel more watered down or degraded from that original creation, because sex abuse can happen in this wide spectrum, right? Societal abuse is probably the most widespread. I haven't met very many people that are not affected by that energy. And so, yes, it can be passed on from mothers, both genetically and environmentally. So, genetically meaning is your ancestors' patterns, and environmentally means you were born and you grew up in a household. For example, my parents never had sex talk with me. They are very like, it's unclear if they ever even did have sex. It was clear that my mother was not very fulfilled or happy, right? Because we can feel when people are orgasmic and happy. Um, Body image distortions is another one. Thank you so much for bringing that in, Layla. Like, even if we say, well, oh, I don't know if I'm beautiful. I think I'm, maybe I'm a little bit chubby, or I want to be skinnier. All of those things are also somatic, we say essential or sexual abuse, right? Because it's creating a false relationship between us and our somatic body. Um, and then one thing that has Kelly says porn can energetically traumatize us as well. Yes, Kelly, we gone through this because porn can actually connect you into etheric and astral energy siphoning devices and traffic our astral body. It's all super real. But another thing that's coming in, Harmony, as far as the mothers, when you said mothers, it reminded me of landscape abuse. So this is something that I've personally experienced, where because women, we are super connected to the land. This is why in a lot of Native American tribes, the shaman is very often a woman because of the womb. Because, even the sweat lodge, it was originally created so men can practice and train and connect to the void, to life force, to the other side, to the womb, as women naturally are. And so women are super connected to the land where they are born. And so for me, this is when this is connected to the landmass of China. And I've gone through so much healing as well of the things that women have gone through on that land. Things like the one-child policy, they were taking women off the street and forcing abortions and all of that trauma. I mean, you can tune into your own connection to your own land. Chances are similar things have happened. This attack on the holy women connection and the nature, divine nature, energy has been massive, huge, right? It's again at the root of all of the levels of trauma that we experience on the planet. So this is another level of womb healing that, you know, will come in. Eliana says, my body goes into shock when I try to remember or talk about glimpses from past trauma. I don't remember, but I know. Reptilian glimpses have resurfaced sometimes. I live isolated and need guidance. So this container is perfect for you. I would say it's created for you. I just want to say that you are not alone. You're not crazy. I totally validate your experience. And I just want you to know that the support and also the teachings and the technologies are here to support you through that. And that, if your body is already going into shock, some of the things, for example, in the second week of class, we're just going to be going through all of my self-healing techniques. So the first week, we're just going to be opening up space. And then the second week, we're going to be learning all of my self-healing techniques. I'm just going to be giving you this library, right? So that when you have a trigger or when you find a distortion, you just go to the library and you say, okay, I'm going to do this. And then you can literally just, appoint an hour or two every day. And using those tools, you'll go layer by layer through the healings. I will say that it took me many years before I dug up certain memories, because this is how our body protects us as well. One way that our body protects us from releasing traumatic memories too soon is by sensing the environment and sensing our own emotional maturity. So our holographic system and our inner children are very intelligent. So my inner child, it was like my 7, 8-year-old self was holding the pain of my childhood abuse trauma. But because she felt like my adult consciousness wasn't quite ready yet to process what she was holding, because I didn't have a solid environment, I didn't have a home, I was traveling, I was living in an RV, whatever the reason was, my system felt it wasn't yet safe for those memories to surface. Which is good because, if you're already struggling to make ends meet and all of a sudden this big trauma comes out, first of all, the trauma is probably not going to get to heal and you'll just re-traumatize yourself. And second, it'll just make everything even worse and more difficult. And so our system's very intelligent. Our body's very intelligent. This is also why, I'm guided to not give any scholarships to this container, because we are going to be going so deep. It's a 9-week course with so much support and so much content, and there's 3 different kinds of payment plans. If it's out of your budget at this time, don't worry. A lot of this teachings will be in the Earthstar Academy. It's just that this specific container, we're about to go really deep into some deep healing, and I, as a facilitator, just need to make sure that you are in space in your root chakra where you are safe and you are secure and you can kind of support yourself through possible triggers. You don't want to be engaging in this level of deep healing if, certain resources aren't present anyway. So for myself, I've had to build up my environment before these traumas could be revealed to me. So even though for 4 or 5 years, I knew that something happened to me as a child because I had all the symptoms of sexual abuse as an adult, I had no access to my memories. And it wasn't until, earlier this year, that my part felt safe enough to show me what memories she was holding. How to heal from porn. So this is multifaceted. I will probably be sharing a workshop or 2 about this in ESA. And again, if you are a male person, because I see Layla says it would be great to have the men's work too. I've been celibate for 8 months and in a 15-year relationship. I can't open unless I feel safe and loved. So if you have a man, or if you are a man and you would like for a similar container to be opened up for you, write me a comment, send me an email, because if there's enough interest, I will beseech Shane to open up a container for that at the same time as the women's group is going. So just reach out and let me know, because I know that most of my following are women, so I wasn't really sure if that was something that the community wanted. So yes. Oh. Scooterbug says the best way is number 1, stop watching it. Yes. And then the second is engage sexually without it after focusing on the love of being. It's best to wait about a month after. Yep. And, I think that learning subtle body awareness is really important as well, because this is how you start to get the hooks out, right? Because I know that depending on how long and how much exposure and how old you were when you first exposed to pornography, for myself, for example, I discovered pornography when I was 11 years old. Somebody in my household left it on the family computer, and then everybody left. And I know for fact that this was, I feel that it was a level of sexual abuse that my inner child experienced, because no child should be exposed to those images of sexuality. Um, and what I discovered through my own healing of, porn, and it took me a couple, by the time I was like in my teens, I was not any longer engaging with it. But what I discovered was that there were wormholes that were open. Parts of my astral body was being trafficked. Parts of my sexual energy was being trafficked. And I know that I went through that experience so that I can have this context, because engaging in sexual healing and human liberation is my mission here on earth. And so I knew that I had to go through that, but it was very difficult to reclaim our sacred innocence, because it's a technology, right? Pornography is a weapon that is designed to distort and imprison your sexual energy. And so, um, in order to get the hooks out and to restore consciousness, these things can take years. Yeah. Okay. Sarah says, "Oh hell no. How do we make sure that's not going on anymore?" Can you elaborate on what exactly you're talking about? Or do you mean the astral trafficking? When we heal our womb wounds, does that impact our children and essentially heal them as well? To a certain extent, right? Because they do have their own soul, and they do have their own experience and their own memories and their own ideas. And so what we can do is that there's very specific things like healing the umbilical cord, restoring the seed atom, and all of these things we can do, and it will benefit them. But, if they are engaged, or if they are distorted in some way, they do have to engage in that healing themselves as well. And this is a huge reason why Kara is literally putting me through boot camp right now, because, the work that I'm doing on myself right now is literally giving her a different kind of platform, to protect her from these energies, and to give her just a whole other leg of the race, to be way ahead of where I am. And I know that the more clear, so it's kind of like this collaborative thing where she's helping me clear my womb, but is really directly benefiting her, for her to be able to come in with more of that purity intact. So yeah, the astral trafficking is definitely, I think you mean, how do we know if it's not going on more in ourselves? So this is something we start to engage in quantum healing. We can actually go out and scan for open wormholes, and and this is something as well that quantum hypnosis helps if you're just beginning that access into higher dimensionalities. You can actually check for, um, if those lines of energy are open, and you can go back in time as well in the quantum space and check for those things. It's really tricky, right? This is really tricky stuff that can take, a long time, because of how, depending on how deeply these programs are embedded, again, they are designed to debilitate creators. It's just a weapon. It's a weapon that was designed, right? So let's see here. Maria says, "Hi, Z and Kara. Is womb healing connected with the throat chakra healing? And what do you feel is the difference between divine mother energy and the goddess energy?" So thank you so much for this brilliant question. So in the fifth week, we're actually going to be talking about the connection between the cervix and the larynx. And so the throat and the cervix, you'll see that they're anatomically very similar. And to me, they are the two creational stargates that we have in our body. Because first of all, there's literally the two exits and entry points, right, to our body. And basically, these two locations oscillate and create and interrelate and interweave with the fabric of reality itself. And so when we're singing, or when I'm singing, I call it oracle singing or soul voicing, which the 5th workshop we're actually going to learn how to do. Learning how to voice from our womb, this is deeply connected. I mean, think about the main thing, right, that happens sometimes in sexuality is that we can't articulate and we can't communicate what feels good for us and what we want because of the programming, because of our trauma. And so this directly connects into how readily we can receive and create the abundance and the reality that we want in our world, and how we feel, when we speak with power. So many of us, feel like we can't be heard, or we're scared to speak our truth. Learning to speak and learning to sing, specifically just voice from our womb, is a powerful way that we can begin to work with the creation systems in our body. And we think we do this through learning about these stargates of creation. And this is a visceral experience for me, that singing, oracle singing, you guys can feel the vibration of that home energy, right? It makes us cry because this is a vibration of original creation. Original creation is the source of the home that we are all connected to, that is the source of all of us. And so we are learning to voice from that place of essential being. And what is the difference between the divine mother energy and the goddess energy? So to me, they are one and the same. Divine mother, goddess. I think that the reason why I use all three of these words is to repair the creation aspect, right, of the divine mother, to appreciate this reality that the divine mother is a creator, is a creatrix. And so this is the energy that we're working with, is the original goddess energy. And something that it really irks me is this artificial goddess, right? Like, oh, I'm a goddess, like goddess moon circles or whatever. And I just, and it's just a bunch of women that, oftentimes, are stuck in the feminine polarity, that have no access to their inner masculine, that are just processing emotions. And, they're like, oh yeah, and I have a modeling business, and I have, this $800 dress, and all of those things is what makes me a goddess, the vibration of goddess, and is a very fallen template. The true vibration of goddess is benevolence, right? This is also the difference. Like when I was a kid, my ancestor would whisper in my ear. This is a really weird thing. I don't know if everybody has this, but when I was a little kid, I would hear this female ancestor whisper in my ear, and she would say, "A real princess cares for her people." And ever since I was a little kid, that voice just kept, reiterating this, because it's true. It's about service. And we think about the monarchy and kings and queens as like, oh, people, give me your taxes. I own everything. Look at me. I'm so great. And it's the same thing with the modern distorted goddess energy, the queen and the princess. Like even in our society, we think princess, like, oh, that spoiled rich girl, she's such a princess. That's not a princess. Okay. That is a parasite. A true, this is where we're operating in the original vibrations of sovereignty, which every single person in this room, when we start operating that creation energy, you have access to life force. You're going to have a lot more access to energy than a lot of people as they begin to do that work. Okay. And so what happens then is that we start to interface with these original divine templates of sovereignty, of king, of queen, of goddess, which is benevolence, unconditional love, creation, offering, service to creation itself, reverence, love, right? All of those things. And so these are the vibrations that we're going from. We're learning the templates of original creation, which means we're finding our power, but in a righteous and in an honorable, in a reverence, in a divine, sacred way. We're not going to, distort the original teachings to serve some purpose. Like, I want to make $1 million. It's like, the byproduct of your alignment might be a lot of money, right? Because in order to be of service, if you wanted to build a shelter, if you wanted to build, a children's rescue, if you wanted to build whatever it is, you're going to need resources. And there's no shame around, a lot of abundance. Is just that's not the central motivation. The motivation and the creation is what you're here to bring. And when we align with these original templates of creation, and we have that deep motivation inside of ourselves to bring what our soul is desiring to create, then all of a sudden, all of the abundance and all of the resources and all the people that you need to make your dream happen just happen to be a byproduct, just happen to be exactly where and when you need them. This is the power of the original creation template. Okay, so let's see here. Doesn't the monad seat in the womb? So that's a fascinating sentence. I'm confused a little bit by it. So a monad is I personally feel that a monad is basically speaking to a higher dimensionality of yourself that actually is a kind of an oversoul. And my understanding of monad is that this oversoul is a conglomerate of many incarnations of a unified soul. So it could be in other bodies, like in a twin or in a monadic family, or even lifetimes as other beings and other dimensions in other times on the planet. So for example, simultaneous incarnations in different times throughout time space, right? Because the soul is not linear and not locked in. And so for me, I experience my monad throughout different locales and not necessarily in the womb, but I'm not exactly sure. I've never heard of that, so I'm curious of what you feel, because everything is an experience, right? So there's a lot of things that can be mental, but I process everything experientially, and so my experience with the monad has been in many different locales and many dimensionalities. I know that some people think like, oh, you have an oversoul and that means that there's like 100,000 souls or people on the planet that are in your oversoul. And it's like, no, like monads don't work in that linear way, because you have aspects that are in other star systems. For example, I have a parallel lifetime soul in the Pleiades and one in Sirius and one in like ancient Mongolia. Like all of those parts of me are stationed in those different dimensionalities and time spaces so that I can kind of coordinate those energies, and we all kind of, exist in those spaces intentionally. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and on that note, we're just hitting up the 2-hour mark, and I always love hanging out with you guys so much. I am so excited. Oh, one more thing is that, if you're wondering if you want to join this or the Earthstar Academy, Isa is going to be around for a very long time. Isa is going to, be a lot of content, a lot of classes. And so, you're totally free to take the womb healing class and then join Isa afterwards or later on. A lot of the information in the womb healing class will be available on Isa, so don't feel like you're going to miss out if you can't join the womb healing class. But I think that the most valuable thing about the womb healing container is just the ability to receive direct transmission from Kara. And of course, it is a technology. These containers come alive during specific times as called by the galactics and the earth and the collective to transmute certain energies together as a collective, in the collective and in the planet. So if you're feeling like your soul is meant to be a part of this, and if it feels like it's really nourishing to you, you should jump on board. And otherwise, don't feel like you're going to miss out. This information is going to be available in Isa. And yeah, I think that it's just a fabric, right? Like the space itself, it's coming in very powerfully. And so thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. And next week I'm gonna be driving somewhere on Saturday, so I'm gonna upload a pre-recorded video. Um, I can't remember exactly what the video is gonna be. Oh yeah, so next week I'm gonna break down the sexual misery programming in detail. So I'm actually going to be pre-recording that video as I'm gonna be on the road. Um, um, yeah, this is the stuff. This is the stuff when it gets kind of creepy because you um look at the media and you look at these like pop Hollywood movies and the way that people engage in romantic relationships, and it's really just quite miserable, and it's not by accident. You know, it was designed to literally loosh humanity from a fundamental human level, which just is fucked up. It's totally messed up, you know. I know that I got an email recently from someone that doesn't like when I swear, but I mean, how else am I going to describe it? It's it's messed up. It's just not cool. So, I'm really excited to bring that video forward for you guys, and I will see you live again. Is it gonna be the new year? No. Oh, it's gonna be Christmas. Oh my God. The next time that I hang out with you guys live here will be Christmas. So, Ju, if you're wondering about Kara, go ahead and look at my last YouTube video from last week. Kara is a little avatar star baby that I'm currently pregnant with. She has, really been a major ascension teacher to me for many years now, and yeah, I have posted my whole story with her. You can find the link. You can also search Kara in my YouTube channel. There's one video that I did from April that goes over my whole experience with her. She's a very special being. She is my soul's ascension teacher. So if you guys think that the stuff that I'm bringing through is great, then she's a very, very special being. So yeah, thank you so much for the moderators and for all of you guys that are supporting this show. And I will see you guys live on Christmas. I love you. Bye for now.